All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sisters for Harmony Vodcast. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Kathleen Walls, and I am joined by my other co-host, Ruby Burke, Vice President of Sisters for Harmony, Dr. Ramantal, friend, guest, member, everything to the show. Somewhere around here is Brother Moja. I'm about to tag him and find him because he just came downstairs saying, "Don't we have a show at 7?" Yes, we do, darling. I don't know if he realizes that it is 7 o'clock. So I'm going to text him and hopefully he'll be joining us soon so he can open us up as he always does. So let me send him a message in the most loving way that I can, as in, where are you? For Ruby, I'll have you send a message in the way that you can. Look. All right. So now why did he say that? All right. Well, Ruby, would you please do us a favor while I attend to him and make sure that he has all the login information? Would you go ahead and introduce Sisters for Harmony to the people? Tell them what it's about.
Yes. I'm Ruby Burke, Vice President of Sisters for Harmony. Sisters for Harmony is a nonprofit. Please go on our website and please donate. Please look at our events that we're having.
Mhm.
We've been doing this for a while. I love it. I love the people. It started out where we were doing posters. We wanted to put images of ourselves in whatever light there is. It's unfortunately people shame you for long hair, short hair, fat,
Mm.
thin. We wanted to just do it across the board so everybody will see that you can be anything and you can do anything.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there
And
you are.
thank you kindly. And Dr. Ramantal, would you reintroduce yourself to the people, please?
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Tasha Remental. I am a nurse and a board certified patient advocate. And I have a YouTube channel that is dedicated to educating and informing Black women in particular on all aspects of medical tourism. Just so because Black women unfortunately have the highest rates of almost everything known to man. So it's my duty and my pleasure to share information, much needed information. So hopefully people will take in and arm themselves with the best information to make a more informed decision if they decide to seek care abroad. And I also
Mhm.
provide patient advocacy services to anyone, but to not just Black women, but to anyone, the elderly, pediatric, adolescents, everywhere in between. So that's
Mhm.
through medicaltourismrn.com.
And thank you so much because, tonight's show, as we're talking about safety, it is June and it is National Safety Awareness Month, which I had no idea was even a thing. Did y'all even know that was a thing?
Yep.
I heard about it. And the
Okay.
reason I heard about it only because in nursing, they always talk about preventable deaths. And so they
Mm.
usually give us the top 5 for men, women, and then stats on the demographics of that. So that's how I know. But I will give you a fun fact. Well, it's not a fun fact. I'm sorry. Black women in the US experience disproportionately higher rates of preventable injuries and deaths compared to white women. And it's particularly in areas like I'm not mental, maternal health and
Hmm.
workplace safety.
Right.
A lot of that has to
Okay.
do with domestic violence, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. And now, Ruby, you said you did know, you had heard that
Yeah.
this.
I did because I work for a fire alarm company,
Mm.
and the fire marshals have been coming to a lot of our customers' properties, checking, and a lot of them don't want to get inspections. And if they do, whatever failed, they don't want to fix it. And now
Hmm.
everybody's in a hurry that haven't fixed things since 2022. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I found out about it.
Okay. All right. All
Mhm.
right. Well, Brother Moja, I'm glad you could join us, love.
I don't know
Hello.
what happened. I clicked on the link and it took me to it's like what's going on? And plus, this is a new hard drive in my computer, so all this stuff is
Oh,
so I have to
okay.
put all the stuff back in now.
Mhm.
Okay. Got
Mhm.
you. Got
Mhm.
you. All right. Well, Brother Moja, even though we started, would you please open us up and and carry us for a little bit. I'm trying to we have some new technology that on StreamYard that I'm trying to work through. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you, love.
Hmm, interesting. Okay, well, family, I greet you in the name of God. We greet you in the name of God and the ancestors, and whose footsteps we most humbly walk. We thank you for joining us today in the new month of June as we walk this life of purpose. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, sorry I'm joining you late. I have a new hard drive in my computer, so I had to reinstall everything, stream all the stuff. I was like, what's going on here? I was like, okay. So now I'm here. Da-dum. Hey, Ruby. Hey, Lucian. I like your posting you're doing there. How many followers you have now?
Me on YouTube 1141.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm trying to get my TikTok up. It seems to be the spot.
yes.
Tickety tockety. Okay,
Tickety
yeah.
tockety, yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
Well, it's
you.
good information you're putting out there. That's information
Oh, thank
definitely
you.
needed.
Yeah, now I have a little bit more time. I'm putting in the work to put all the stuff that
Mhm.
comes to my mind out there, and it's been well received, and I'm really happy about that. It's a pleasure for me to do it.
Okay.
That's nice.
Hey, Fire Marshal Ruby, how you doing?
I am well.
She
How
didn't
are
say
you?
she didn't say she's not the fire marshal. I said Fire Marshal Ruby, and she just answered
I
that.
heard you. I brushed right past that.
Oh boy, whatever. Well, family,
Yeah.
what's going?
So we're talking, admin, the topic for tonight, I don't know if you got a chance to see it with all your computer stuff, is it's National Safety Month. And I was saying, I hadn't realized that that's what it is. We have so many awareness months, and it's National Safety Month. And with the world being in the current state that it is, there's a lot of stressors that are going on, politically, financially, socially, physically, and so forth. And so, as we talk about human trafficking, as Dr. Ramantal talks about medical services abroad, as Ruby has a history of talking about survivors and all of its forms, all of this for me, and for me, obviously, talking about mental health and wellness, that's there's safety measures and precautions that need to go into place when we're talking about all of these. And this is why coping skills and strategies and healing tips and all of that is very important. And so, Dr. Ramantal, I'm going to start with you. When you think about safety in National Safety Month, what do you, in regards to your profession and your passion, what are some things that come to mind for you, and what are some tips and recommendations for the audience members?
So I know when they talk about National Safety Month in the US, a lot of it is focused on raising awareness about preventable injuries and deaths. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it aims to really encourage individuals as well as organizations to take action to reduce things like accidents, but also improve safety in the workplace and in communities and also in homes. And I know as a nurse, specifically in the emergency department, my heart goes out to those ED nurses because that is the highest location within a hospital that sees violence. And the violence is really not always stemming from workplace violence in terms of your colleagues. It can, but a majority of it is actually from patients or patients and their families.
Hmm.
And so that's something that came to mind just being a nurse, because I've seen some of it. But then
Mm-hmm.
also thinking about things like what I engage in, just making sure that as a patient advocate, specifically when it comes to the elderly, making sure that we're preventing injuries in the home. A lot of the elderly are very vulnerable, and it's
Yes.
very easy for them to slip and fall, to fracture any aspect of their hip, their knee, whatever the case may be. And that's something that will take them out for quite some time. So
Right.
focusing on prevention big time for unintentional injuries and deaths, of course, is what I think about the most.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ruby. It sounds like some of what she was saying was resonating with you.
It was one of the things that that people need to, in reference to the elderly, make sure they have smoke detectors
Hmm.
because
Mm.
they can, or make sure. I just found out that now they have a watch that detects falls and that can
Oh,
call people
really?
because some people don't want to wear the thing around their neck or something like that. So it's like a
Yes.
smartwatch, and they can have that when they fall, if they want to go somewhere or take a shower or anything, they could use that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times we see where people, they don't have the smoke detectors, they don't have fire extinguishers. And before I got into this industry, I never thought about having an extinguisher in my home.
Mm.
I've never had to use it, but just the thought that is
Mm-hmm.
there, and it's a safety precaution.
It is. Go ahead, Brother Mojo, because you know you make sure we stay fire extinguisher ready in these parts.
Well, because I am OSHA certified and I work for the government, we had to go to OSHA certification and then hazmat certification. Um, you know, it might be expired, but the knowledge is still there. And so I know that, it's important that people realize how important fire extinguishers is in the home because it doesn't take that long for fire to spread in some homes, right? So if you have a bi-level home, you should have an extinguisher near your kitchen door or in the kitchen, and you should definitely have one in your bedroom or near your bedroom door because if a fire catches at nighttime and you're sleeping, that's probably the one thing that might help you get out the house faster if an extinguisher will
Mm-hmm.
make a safe path for yourself. And so for me, when we came into the house, I bought fire extinguisher every every floor and the basement.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Funny.
That-
And then and checking the smoke detectors.
Yeah.
And and sometimes some alarm system, Ruby probably know about, some alarm system have the smoke detectors already wired into them. And that's what we have here. So our smoke detectors are wired into the system.
Alarm system.
So if it goes off the alarm, people call you and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Right.
So we have during this month. There's a lot of things we need to look into. One of the things I've been looking into that my wife don't know is that they have that special blanket that you keep in your kitchen. So in case
Oh,
you
yeah.
grease fire, you just take the blanket and throw it in the grease.
I have one. My mother bought like buy
Yeah.
one get one, and she gave it to me. No, but you know what? It's funny because you're talking about fire extinguishers, and a lot of times we barely even meet just having the smoke detector, like you said.
Yeah.
And I do have it where it's connected to my alarm, but I don't see people even purchasing or putting it in their home unless they're doing something like, oh, I'm renting to people. Like I'm
Mhm.
renting
Mhm.
rooms, or I'm going to rent out my home, or I'm going to do Airbnb when I'm on vacation. And that's when they make an effort because it's a requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really
Mhm.
see many people that I know just going around and getting a fire extinguisher and having it in their
Right.
home. So I was actually happy my mother gave that to me because I don't have one. I don't. I have the smoke detector, but I don't have an extinguisher.
No,
I know
so
my husband was talking about getting one, but I don't think we got it yet.
You don't have one today, but when we check in with you tomorrow.
I know, right?
no, and if you have a home and you have a choice to have a fire extinguisher in your house, the one place you should definitely have it is not the kitchen, but by your bedroom. Because if you sleeping and you have a fire, and I know some people are going to disagree with me, but if you're sleeping and there's a fire in your home, you want to get out. The fire extinguisher is going to help you clear a path for you and your loved ones to get out.
Mhm.
And don't buy that little small thing. buy the bigger one, because you're sleeping, you're a little bit disoriented already and so forth like that. And you want to make sure you're able to get you and your loved ones out.
Mhm.
If the kitchen, some people say the kitchen is most important, but if you're in the kitchen, you could run out the house because you're already alert. Okay. But if you're in your bed sleeping, something's going to wake you up and you're going to be disoriented a little bit and stuff like that. But if you know where that smoke, like my fire extinguisher is by the door. My wife, I showed her where they were. I showed her where I put everyone. I don't know if she remember. But I put them because by exit doors in the kitchen, by the exit door, by the bedroom exit door, by everywhere I put it, because like I said, because I was OSHA certified, these are things we were in OSHA and hazmat that we had to know. And as we are in this month, if you go to any of those, I don't want to call any names, but those places that sells all this home stuff, there's a few of them with the name home in it. But if you go to any of those stores that sell those things, take the time and buy. But you buying all these nice things for your house, invest in protecting those nice things. Get yourself a fire extinguisher, and then even like the CO, the carbon monoxide.
Right.
So, because as you know, carbon monoxide they call the silent killer.
That's right.
So
protect it.
Put one, and you should, and the place you should have it is like near your boiler or where your heater room is and stuff like that. So that way, if something goes wrong with that, room, that will detect it very quickly. So it's so important where you put it, where you place it in your home. And so in this month we're in, we have a lot of people buying beautiful things for their homes, fixing their homes up very, very nicely. Invest in protecting your home, but more so invest in protecting your life.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't want to go to the hospital, man, because the hospital will make you sick when you get that bill. Then you're gonna say the hospital bill is gonna be like, then you say, well, the fire extinguisher is only $75 for a big one, and I didn't get that one. So you start thinking about it, you say, yeah. So Ruben, you work in that industry to a certain extent. What do you see in that industry that you work in?
Well, actually, I was talking to them, and one of the things that I see is that a lot of people won't take care of their apartment buildings, their daycares, their elderly people's home, things like that, until a fire marshal or the city comes out to do an inspection. And it's unfortunate because I'm always concerned when we have a lot of deficiencies, a lot after an inspection, and they just decide they don't want to get them fixed. And okay, letter, certified letter. So if something happens to their building, the first thing they want to do is sue their fire alarm company. But it's not the fire alarm company, it's them.
It's so important, as you're talking about it. I remember growing up, and my father had a fire extinguisher near the refrigerator. And that was the only one that I remembered, which was really away from everything. There was a knowing that it was in the house. But when you think about it practically, that wasn't the best place for it. And then when Edmund came along, making sure we had multiple fire extinguishers so that we could have access to them, that was practical, logical sense that I just never took into consideration. And as you're talking, each of you are talking about the importance of protecting your investments, right? Obviously protecting your life, but also protecting your investments. And again, going back to this whole idea of expanded holistic safety, things to make us feel safe. Mentally, that added a level of peace to my life that I didn't think I even needed. Right. And so that's a stressor that ends up coming off of me. Again, we carry so much stress. Many times we don't know the origins of it all
Right.
until we start to feel the release and the relief of not having that. And we go, oh, that was a concern of mine. Years ago, I had a dream and there was a fire component to it. And I carried that because it was like, is this a prophetic dream? Is this right? It came a long time ago before some of the TV shows with the different fire names in it were attached. So it was like, where is this thought coming from? But then with the fire extinguishers, it was like, okay, that gives me extra help until help can get there. You talked about with the elderly, I'm the primary caretaker for my mother. And so our alarm system occasionally, Edmund is the cook. And occasionally when he's not home, I'll go into the kitchen and sometimes I'll leave stuff on just a little bit longer than it should stay on. And then the alarm starts
That's a
to
nice way of
sing.
putting it.
Yeah, the alarm starts to sing a really loud song that causes attention.
She likes her food well done.
But it'll be like fire, fire. And I mean, the alarm is loud. And it's screaming fire, fire, fire. And so I'm running to yes, get out now, fire, fire. And so I'm running to the phone first to tell the alarm company it's a false alarm, right? Please don't send the fire department.
Do you remember your code?
Yes, got it. Unfortunately, I've had practice, so I got it. But then I got to run and go get my mother, who is now in a state of almost trauma because she's hearing it and she's going, what do I do? How do I do? Where do I go? Right now, mind you, it's me and my mother. But for people who don't have that extra layer of comfort of another person, that extra resource, right? These are, again, as I'm talking about safety, the impact of not feeling safe on one's system. Also, right, I don't have a fire trauma story in my history, but for those who do, this stuff triggers PTSD.
It does.
Right? Go ahead, Ruby.
I I was at work and I got a call from the fire marshal and this number kept calling me and it said fire marshal. I was like, wrong number. Finally I answered. He said, you have a fire at your house. And I came and it was the circuit breaker. That was the only thing, the circuit breaker. And it did a lot of smoke damage. The fire department did more damage than that did. But every time I think I smell something, I'm like, oh, something's on fire, and it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at the fire extinguishers, I'm always checking them. Okay, they're still full.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's just something that I do now. I before then, I never thought about having a fire in my house or anything like that. But yeah, it is trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruby has said something that's very important. If you do have fire extinguishers, please check the dates on them and check. There's a code on a color code on there and stuff like that. So it tells you if it's full or not. So the little dial they make it very easy for you to read it. So just if you do have fire extinguishers, this is the month where you check them. Okay. If you have a fire, if you have a smoke detector, this is the month where you should check them. Make sure the batteries are good. If they're not wired into your system in your house. Same thing, you see your carbon monoxide. Because the batteries are 9-volt batteries inside it, which is a pretty good. It lasts a very long time. And then if I hate when I call someone and I hit a smoke detector going beep beep, like, don't you hear that? And they're like, what? I said, you don't get to that when. Like, it doesn't cost you. I mean, come on, really?
Oh my goodness, that's me. When people call me like, what is that noise? I'm like, what noise? Is that your smoke detector? Oh yeah, I have the batteries right there. I'll change it. Okay, they call me later on. You haven't changed it yet. Why are you worried about it? You're not here. You're not going to catch on fire. Okay, leave me alone. I'm like, and I'm in the basement. I have like 6 smoke detectors in here.
Oh
That
my
one is
goodness.
not going to let me catch on fire. Okay, so, but I know people get tired of hearing that beep 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 beep.
Yeah, I mean, this chick. I mean, there is no reason why we shouldn't be better prepared in the 21st century because
Yeah.
they have made it so simple for us.
It really is.
I mean, the smoke detectors are going to beep you when the battery's low. You know, the fire extinguisher, just look at the little dial on it, the little pressure valve, and it tells you if it's yellow, red, or whatever color, green, what you should do, so forth and so on. Because, you know, ladies,
Yes.
y'all spend a lot of money making your homes look really good.
Mhm.
And all those clothes you buy, when the fire guys come in, they're gonna wet all those clothes down because they're like, wow,
They sure do.
the house is revenge.
They flooded upstairs. The fire wasn't even up there. It was down.
Oh goodness. Oh
How
goodness.
you break the windows upstairs?
For ventilation,
Yeah, they start there. Yeah. No, it's funny you're talking a lot about fires, but in Miami we have a lot of water damage,
Yes.
whether it's from hurricane season or something else. And I did have water damage in my home extensively. It was in 2020 in January, and I was like 7.5 months pregnant. And in the middle of the night, one of my other children called me, and I stepped out of the bed into a puddle of water, and I was like, honey. And he was like, he thought something was wrong with me. I was like, there's water on the floor. And we turned out, and there was so many things just floating by.
Mhm.
And so we had extensive water damage and had to leave our home for about 9 months.
Yeah,
But every time I hear running water, if it's not, when I know it's going to happen. No, seriously,
Yeah.
when I know it's
Yeah.
not going to happen. I do have PTSD.
Yeah.
I heard running water when it was like when I was sleeping, and I jumped up thinking, oh no, it's a flood. So it really does affect you.
it does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
That was me.
mostly in South Florida where you guys got no basements. I live in South Florida.
Right.
There's no
Yeah.
basements in South Florida.
No.
You go 10 feet down, you're back in the in the gook.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah, and that thing. Every time when it's raining, all you hear is water. You don't recognize it as rain right away.
yeah.
Just hear water.
Mm. So I think it is right. It's important for us to take what I say is honest inventory of these different things, right, within our home. It is, or whether we're renting or owning, to prioritize our health and our well-being and pay attention to how it is impacting us emotionally and mentally and physically. As you've talked about, when you hear the running water, how it triggers that thought, and then right, that anxiousness kicks in, and we go back to that moment in time. When that fire alarm goes off, it takes us to those moments. And then we have to make sure we're doing our due diligence in bringing us back to a center of peace. Because many times we just let the moment pass without honestly addressing all of the thoughts and feelings that rose up inside of us. When I know, and I'm guilty as well, when that fire alarm goes off, and I make sure my mom knows, I spend more time comforting her to make her know that everything's okay. And I don't take the time to comfort me as well. Like to make sure that my nervous system has calmed down to, before I'm jumping back in the session or tending to whatever needs to be tended to. And so that's why I wanted to take tonight and talk about, safety and broaden that concept and understanding of safety so that we are really tending to all of what's happening. Because you take that, right? If we think about it from a compounded effect, all of what we're dealing with nationally, globally, right? Our nervous system is already on fire. And then you add in whatever family life stuff is happening personally, right? And then you go and add something on top of that, like a flood or wildfires or so forth, right? And even as we see these things nationally and globally, when you know somebody in those different areas, I forget what was going on. I think it was the hurricane, Dr. Ramantal, where it was like, are you okay? Is your family okay? Right? I'm not in direct path, but you're in direct path. And so by proxy, I'm impacted by
Mhm.
it.
True.
And being able to check. So safety is it's a small word with big impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
No,
sure.
and
So,
some and it's,
Dr. Ramatal, what's going through your mind? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Moja.
no, I'm going to
Go
say
ahead, babe.
something I get very picky about is because like I said I was hazmat certified when I was working. I'm still at the now.
Mm-hmm.
People with when you get a multi plug, like the multi plugs we buy, but we need to plug 2 or 3 things in, and we have them. Please get one. Not too many of them don't have circuit breakers on them, so get one that has a circuit breaker on it. And if that thing trips more than twice, it's time for you to check out. Maybe it's old and you need to get rid of it and get another one, or else you got too many things plugged into it. And if you have it on carpet, if you don't need to have it on all the time, turn it off. Turn it off, please, because if it's not good and it doesn't trip, you could get a fire, and you don't want a fire in your home. Mostly if you're on carpet.
Mm-hmm.
Please be careful with that. And you should all. I know there are some older houses that still have fuses in them. Okay, if you have a 20 amp fuse in there and it popped, don't go put a 30 amp fuse in there, please. Don't boost it up. If it calls for 15 amp, use 15 amps, because there's a reason why they do that. But they use certain wires. All the wires are not the same. So please be careful with that. If you have circuit breakers in your house and you have a circuit breaker that keeps tripping, something is wrong on that line. Have someone come and check with you. You don't want it. If it stops tripping, you're setting yourself up for a fire.
Right.
That's why it's tripping, because it's telling you there's too much of a load on that line.
Right.
It's tripping to protect you. So if you have a circuit breaker and it keeps tripping and tripping, have someone come in and check it out for you. If you know what's on that line, go unplug everything on that line in your house. You say, oh, my lights are on. Check it out, please, 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 because you don't want a fire in your home. You don't want to put yourself in an unsafe position. Like I said before, we live in an age where they have made it very simple for us to protect ourselves. And if you have a 2-prong in your house and you buy something with 3-prong, please don't break that 3rd prong off.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Who would do that?
What is that?
Buy a 2 to 3-prong converter and use it correctly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, the electric company, they have the circuit breakers where you can plug in it has different things in it. You can plug it in with things that you want to stay on. And then you can plug it in. There's a plug that for things that when you're done, it cuts off.
Oh, wow.
And I have Pepco in Maryland. And they came by and they did the showers, put the new shower heads in. Hopefully there's no cameras in. But they put the shower heads in and they put those circuit breakers in. They gave us those. And they're really nice. They work really well. They're really smart.
If you have a plug by your sink, make sure it's a 3-prong. Make sure it's the ones that's full by water. They have those, like you said. They have those that you put in your kitchen, in your bathroom. The 3-prong, it has a trip on it, so that way, in case you're using a hair blower or something, it falls into water, that will trip automatically and protect your life. So, like I said, we live in an age where they have made it simple for you to protect yourself. So use the knowledge, use the wisdom. I mean, there's a lot of things. And I know some cities used to do this. You could go to your local fire department, the firehouse, and you will ask them questions, and they'll tell you which ones, and they'll assist you in protecting yourself better.
They'll come out to your home as well.
Yeah,
I mean, here in Maryland, they do.
Yeah, that's why I say certain cities. I don't know all the cities in the country, but I have lived in places where they do come out, and if you ask them questions and stuff, they will help you make your house most fire safe, most fireproof.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Most if you have elders in your community, go by the house and check it because the elders
Yeah.
probably don't know and they can't see well. They might be
Yeah.
living well. They might have fuses in their house, and they might have wires all over the floor running over carpets. Let's check your elders, man, because one day God help we'll be elders ourselves and we'll need help.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And it's interesting as you were talking about that. And I'm thinking about this idea of prioritizing our safety. If we take time and think of those things that we prioritize, right? Those things that we value, if we recognize ourselves as valuable, if we recognize ourselves as a priority, then we ensure that we have what we need in order to be safe. One of the things that my mother used to say to us about cleaning our room was make sure that there is always a direct path from the bed to the door.
Yeah.
Right, because you never know, to the point. If something happens at night, you're disoriented, it's dark, you need to make sure that you can get out from the bed to the door without tripping over anything. Make sure that there's nothing on the steps. Make sure, because if you have a fire department or police people or emergency EMTs coming into your house, they don't know your house, right? So they're not going to know to step over the shoes on the first step. And that's going to put them in danger and further your risk as well. And it's easier to do something preventively and proactively than it is to do something in retrospect, right? And then the guilt and the burden and the so forth that then you have to live with and deal with. Oh, if I hadn't have done that, then dot 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 would not have happened. So take a moment, clean up your room, make sure the path is there. And whenever I work with people of all ages, because we know from a developmental standpoint, it is a rare child who likes to keep their room clean. So whenever whenever I'm working with teens and tweens, that is one thing that I do talk to them about is safety prevention, right? Being preventative from all types of injuries and mishaps, things that they're not thinking about because they're young, right? So let's put that into place. Whenever I'm working with clients who are dealing with depressive episodes, many times the external environment is reflective of the internal state of being. And so, as they are having a depressive episode or the beginning of one, they start to notice that their environment is disheveled. And that becomes their external cue that something is going on emotionally, right? And so, all right, so I understand that that's going on, but let's do this. Let's make sure you're staying safe. Let's recognize that if we clean up our environment, we're all external cleanup is also helping internal cleanup.
Dr.
Yeah.
Ramapo, let me ask you a question. As we're talking about, is this a conversation you have with your people? I'm just thinking, you let me know, because if they go into the hospital for surgery and stuff like that, their emotions gonna be limited for a while after surgery. Do you tell them about making sure certain things are in place before they in the home, and certain things are in place in their homes before they go have the surgery? Because they had surgery, so they can't move as quickly as as they used to. That's something you talk to them about when you talk to your people.
That's a plan that you put together for what's called continuity of care. So you usually know where they're going to be discharged to. So if it's going to be, say, a rehab for a little while before they go home, then you have a little bit more time, and they have time to also strengthen themselves before going back into the home. So you would do it at that point when they are at the rehab or wherever that is. If they're going straight home, you talk about who is going to be with you, who's your support system, who's going to set this up, who would be the main person that will come and assist you with whatever it is. It could be meals, it could be going from bed to the bathroom and showering, those types of things. So yes, that kind of discussion goes hand in hand. I mean, as a nurse, it's always done. As a patient care advocate, you're just making sure that they actually receive it from whoever the healthcare provider is. But that's something that we talk about for sure.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Something else that's preventable, because I always bring it back to like
Come on.
medical tourism is, maternal health. How I told you,
Yeah.
Black women have maternal mortality rates that are 2 to 3 times higher than white women. And a lot of it, the blame is placed on access. It's not solely an access issue, it's an education issue as well, but it's
Mhm.
also racial disparities,
Mhm.
systemic bias and discrimination. But these health problems are actually preventable if quality care is given and the access to education is available, more readily available to Black women. And this is something that has, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, has led to a lot of women thinking of giving birth outside of the US just because they
Mhm.
feel that they are ignored,
Mhm.
or just not heard by their providers,
Yeah.
especially when they're in pain. um, Literally, they are advocates for themselves, and a lot of times it is passed off as the whole access. Maybe you don't have insurance or you're underinsured, but I mean,
Mhm.
we're losing even Black OBGYNs. Don't tell me these physicians don't know what they're doing and they're in the field.
That's right.
So that's a lot of people have come to me through my channel asking where are the best countries to give birth
Mhm.
safely. And
Mhm.
even if it's in countries that do not have many people that look like us, they're
Mhm.
just asking for the safety aspect. What's the
Yeah.
maternal mortality rate in that country? What's the infant mortality rate in that country? If it's low, it's good enough for me to at least give birth and have some support systems available, whether they want to use midwives,
Mhm.
doulas, a combination of all of that. They get a package. And usually, as long as you have the ability to pay, or depending on how long you plan on being there throughout a pregnancy, you can get a really great package that cares for you throughout your time, and even tap into the local system there, health system, depending on how long you're there. So a lot of people are opting to give birth abroad. They call it birth tourism.
Really?
Yeah, and a majority of them are Black women, simply because the U.S. mortality, maternal mortality rates
That's
are
so high.
deplorable, and nothing's really being done about it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. It's interesting. I was just looking at the definition of what the meaning of National Safety Month is. And it says June is National Safety Month in the United States, established by the National Safety Council in 1996. It's a dedicated time to raise awareness of various safety issues and promote practices that can prevent injuries and deaths. And what you just described is exactly that. And I'm pretty sure they didn't have that in mind. But
No,
as
no,
that,
it's honestly the maternal mortality, but also domestic violence.
come on, bring
That's
it.
a huge one. You'll find that women are coming to work because they are being beaten in
Yep.
their homes, and a lot of times people look at it, or your workplace doesn't really know how to handle it. So a
Yes.
lot of times they look at it as it's not my business.
Yes.
It's not. It's everyone's business.
Yes, it
It's
is.
everyone's business, and it'll cost you in the long run if you actually tie it to dollars,
Go
the
ahead.
amount of days missed in work from those who are suffering from domestic violence. It
Yes.
honestly would behoove organizations to get involved and
Yeah.
get some help for their employees
Yeah.
who they know are suffering as a victim of domestic violence.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And that's why I wanted to take today to expand the definition. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I understand that we're talking about the fire safety and so forth, and all of that is extremely important. But we got to talk about safety across the board, because the reality is, when it comes to a lot of issues and concerns of people who have been historically marginalized, be it due to race, ethnicity, gender, and so forth, that safety awareness is not getting highlighted anywhere.
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity to highlight that awareness. Had it not been for COVID, when it comes to mental health concerns in certain communities,
Right.
it would still be very much under the radar, even though we know that it's present, right? And it needs to be addressed. And there's still so many other subcultures and populations that have yet to make themselves known. As you talked about domestic violence the other day, we were in New York, and I was listening to and side eyeing an argument between people who were speaking a different language. It sounded like an Asian language. From the physical appearance, they looked like they were from an Asian community, but I don't know which one. And from the tone, because I didn't understand the words, but listening to the tone and looking at the facial expressions, it was like, oh, this ain't a lovey-dovey conversation. And I'm parking the car, and I know Edmund's waiting for me around the corner. And the whole time I'm in my car going, please don't hit her. Please don't hit her. Like and I understand in some cultures it is has been a part of their cultural upbringing. Not that it's correct, but it has been normalized to an extent. But it ain't normal for me. And
Right.
and it's out in public. So now it's open for interpretation.
Right.
And I'm going, do I have to call 911? Is this person safe? I don't know what she's saying. I don't know what he's saying, but I can vibrationally feel that, like I said, it ain't, hey, boo, what's going on? It's something else happening.
They were
Go ahead.
having a conversation about a football match, a soccer match.
Is that what it was?
We were very passionate about the soccer.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But right, but the domestic violence piece, and I was talking, who was I just talking to recently? And I was explaining to them that we at Sisters for Harmony, back when it was Sisters in Harmony, how we would do domestic violent panels educating
Mhm.
about domestic
Mhm.
violence, interpersonal violence in October, be it, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And without question, every single time we did one, someone would come up to me, at least one person would come up to me and say, I didn't realize I had been in an abusive
Mhm.
relationship, because they only equated domestic violence or interpersonal violence, or abuse rather, around physical and
Mhm.
sexual. They
Yeah.
Right.
didn't consider emotional, and they definitely had not, most of them had not even thought of or heard of financial.
Exactly.
And I know when I was a student, one of the I went to a workshop, and there was a woman, I want to say she was Vietnamese, but I don't remember 100%. But she talked about how when she first moved to the United States, her husband had come first, then she came with the children, and how he had gotten work first. And in order to restrict her movements, he did not give her like a bus pass, he didn't give her fare and so forth. And that was the first time I had heard about financial abuse.
Mm.
And she said it limited her scope and her ability to move around her community. But she started walking to certain places, and when she started learning English, and then she started saying what was going on. It was a woman who worked for a woman's empowerment place that shared with her that she was experiencing financial abuse.
Mm.
And then after a while, she felt more and more empowered, and she ended up leaving him and then started, helping others. But she had said it was so common within this subculture of where they were in California somewhere, that she didn't know any different
Yeah.
until she did. And then she found out, like, it wasn't against the law where whatever community they were originally from. So to find out that there were actually rights in place here in the States now created a new reality for her, her family, and friends. Go ahead, Dr. Ramatal.
Big deal. So I find that a lot of immigrants go through that, no matter what part of the world they're coming from.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things that are social norms that are acceptable
Yeah.
in their home country, but
Mhm.
would fall under the category of some form of abuse, whether it's
Mhm.
the physical, the financial, the
Verbal.
emotional. Yeah, exactly. All of those pieces.
Mhm.
But they
Yes.
don't know that until they come here. And people are like, well, that's what we do. And that's how it's been. And that's what
Yes.
our culture
Mhm. Mhm.
is our norm. Right.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
a lot of times that is really, they have some type of internal struggle.
Mhm.
Um, because they don't know if they should even speak up.
Yep.
Are they going to become a pariah in their own community
Yep.
because it is something that is socially accepted in
Mhm.
their
Mm-hmm.
community? But if you now speak up, because a lot of times it's don't air our dirty laundry, no matter what
Yes.
community,
Yeah.
it's difficult. It really is like a struggle for them that
Yeah.
I've seen many of them go through.
Yeah. Yeah. So much. So
Yeah.
much. Go ahead,
You know,
Ruthie.
one of the things that I've noticed here is that a lot of people jog. They have jogging paths, walking paths,
Mm-hmm.
and they've started to put lights there now. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why you want to jog in the dark anyway, but
Right.
they put lights there and they have security, whether it's police or someone else, that walk through every once in a while because there were
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women getting attacked
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So you know, safety should be everywhere in the grocery stores with little
Yes.
kids and everything,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead, brother Moja.
No, I'm listening. I'm just listening to the conversation. And just like you're talking about people from different countries. It's such a very sensitive topic because you're dealing with sometimes with things that's like so many generations inbred into the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to be careful how you address it with them because it might just put you in a bad position, it might put them in a bad position because it's like giving someone something to eat that's half cooked. You have to make sure you give it to them correctly because um, in their culture it's such a norm. But
Mm-hmm.
and I growing up in New York, I used to hear it all the time in different cultures in New York. It's just like, and you say, yo, you do what?
Mm-hmm.
No, man, we don't do this in this country, man. You're not in your home country anymore. You here in the U.S. now. You can't. And that was we were young. I would talk like that, and then it becomes an argument, and and it puts up. Then the people start putting walls up to protect the culture and
Mm-hmm.
the way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, so you gotta be so careful how you address it because when you tell someone that what they're doing is not safe or not good,
Yes.
and that thing comes from like generations of
Yeah.
people before them were doing it, all of a sudden they start to become self-protective of their
Defensive.
culture.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we have to be so mindful that speaking to them and how do you speak to them and understanding what part of their culture, what does it do in their culture, and how do you address them? That's so as we're talking about this, we got is something that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, because
Yeah.
if something is happening in your culture that is putting you in harm's way or putting your children in harm's way, there have to be a self correction in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how do you apply that self correction without damaging someone's feeling for their culture or making them go more harder into the culture?
Yeah.
So that's
Culturally competent care, that's what they call it. Making sure
Mm-hmm.
you learn about the norms, the cultural norms. And usually there's a lot of training, especially if you live in a place where maybe there's predominantly a particular group. They will
Mm-hmm.
have people come in from that group to sort of educate you
Mhm.
on the differences within the culture. And even if it goes on and it's something that is considered against the norm in the US, they will
Yes.
help you learn how to broach that subject. Like, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
give an example. Even just Native Americans, it's known that Native Americans have a lot of alcoholism in their
Mm-hmm.
groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, because of the history in this country, they don't just go and listen to anyone
Right.
talking to them about
Right.
something like that. You have to one, get in with the chief. Two,
Mm-hmm.
you got to make friends and inroads and all
Right.
those things. So a lot of that is done in healthcare now, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember when it was sort of just coming on the scene, like around 2012, around
Mm-hmm.
that time, you started hearing a little bit more about this culturally competent care and
Yeah.
making sure that you are meeting people where they are
Yes.
culturally. Because, like, for instance, a lot of times, so many different illnesses or chronic diseases stem from obesity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the first thing a physician tells somebody is, oh, change your diet and exercise. But then
Right.
they give you a piece of paper, and the piece of paper has a diet that's nothing you eat from
Come
your
on.
culture.
Yes.
You know, that's why
Or
my
have
husband,
access to.
yeah, or they don't have
Right.
access to. You live in a
Right.
food desert. My
Right.
husband laughs at me because I'm Jamaican and most of my doctors are Jamaican. I'm talking dentists, OBGYN, eye doctor, everybody. And the
Mhm.
reason why is because I had gone to someone and I remember he was like, okay, you need to lose some weight and do some exercise. Okay, I got it. He brought out this paper and with cottage cheese and all these things. I don't eat that stuff. Like, what is that? That's nasty. So I was like, so he's like, okay, tell me what you eat. So I was like, okay, ackee and saltfish. He's like, what is that? What is that? And I'm like, oh Lord have mercy. So now I got to tell you, you know,
Right.
if you don't understand dumpling and banana, green banana, I'm at a loss. I am at a loss. Okay, we're not going to get anywhere. So I go to the doctors that understand that diet and
Understand the
will tell
culture.
me, okay, cut down on this particular starch and that ground provision. Okay, you
Yes.
get me. You
Right.
get me.
Mhm.
And that's
Right.
and I will adhere to it. But for someone that's asking me what's that for almost everything I name,
Yes.
that's not culturally competent care. And I'm not
No.
going to follow it. I'm not going
Right.
to follow it.
Right.
No, I'm glad you said that because I remember there was a time when Edna works with us right on the health side.
Mm-hmm.
And, and since I grew up in the U.S. and I used to go back and forth to the Caribbean all the time, I said, Edna, what's the nutritional value of this fruit? And sometimes she didn't know. And Edna is so cool. She'll go look up the
She'll
fruit,
research it.
research it, and she said, okay, so forth and so on.
Mhm.
And so having someone who respects where you're from and
Yeah.
then take the time to research and understand from your perspective, like, don't hey, you need to cook the green bananas a little bit longer. That's better for your digestive system. You need to do this. And that's, and it's because, my grandparents cooked it only for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. No, cook it for like 15 or 20 minutes because
Mhm.
it's stuff like that and so forth. Or don't put so much salt in the water when you cook it.
Right.
Okay? Or like your saltfish, soak it more, pressure
Mhm.
so that we get the salt. So you're not changing what they eat. You're just
Mhm.
making an adjustment to how they prepare it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the important thing. I think some people in this country, they have to be more consciously. I think it's better now because we have so many immigrants. More immigrants come from different places, and we go to so many different restaurants and stuff. You go to,
The
and
market.
when we go to an Indian restaurant, they say, "What's your spice
Spice
level?"
level.
Yes. Yes. I
Mhm.
like that.
And I'm up here like a 5 and 6, and she's down there like a 2 and 3.
That's right. That's right.
And I appreciate when they say that because they
Yeah.
know how they cook it with a lot of spice.
And they know, right, and they're gonna stay true to who they are and also accommodate as needed. So you mentioned two to three because we are at 2 to 3 minutes left, Brother Moja.
Okay.
So with that being said, I'm gonna start with you, Brother Moja, for announcements. We know Kadaga is coming out. Where do people need to know, and where do they need to follow?
Well, first, people gotta realize everyone on this call is in Kadaga. Dr. Rematol, Ruby, everyone's in Kadaga. But Kadaga's this is our fourth
Wait a minute,
season.
let me get my face. Which way am I gonna go? Because that Ruby is that Nana Banks. She always messing with people.
She's to your left.
Right.
and so want to thank everyone. This is our fourth season. And the new season starts June 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern time on our YouTube channel. And I think people are going to like it because, and I just want to say real quick, Dr. Walls, if you haven't watched season 2 and 3, you should definitely do that because a lot of stuff that's happening in 4 take you back to those seasons. And if you don't watch those season 2 and 3, you're going to be lost. You're going to be lost a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to put that out there.
All right. And you said where it is on YouTube. You said the channel.
UCCN TV on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you type in UCCN TV, our channel will come up.
Okay. And you have to put the @ first before you put UCCN TV.
Okay.
So, all right. Dr. Ramantal, how about you?
Hey everyone, you can find me on all platforms at Medical Tourism RN. I put out a lot of content on YouTube, just shorts as well as videos, educating and informing, as I mentioned, and I just kind of put that out everywhere on each platform. But if you are in need of a patient advocate, I do patient advocacy, and I offer a free 15-minute consultation, a discovery consultation through my website, medicaltourismrn.com. And you can just fill in your information, and we can put together a 15-minute call to see if my services are warranted, or to just guide you a little bit.
Yeah. And I would say for anybody, even if you know somebody who's having any type of surgery, that talking with Dr. Ramatal is a good idea. I was on with someone recently, and they were saying that they knew someone having, I was like, oh, I said, let me get you a number, because there's somebody who you need to talk to. Her book's not out yet. No, I'm just playing. Well, I said, I know it was coming. I know it was coming.
I wasn't there.
But yeah, I think it's always good for that secondary level of confirmation, secondary level of conversation, and even just clarifying and exploring, and again prioritizing our health and our well-being is so important. And to have that extra layer of insight, it can only serve us for our best.
And I do in person as well as virtual services. And it's not only US based. If you're thinking about, if you want to do it in the US, that's fine. I help there. If you're considering traveling abroad for any type of healthcare, I'm also available for patient advocacy internationally as well.
Fantastic. Ruby, how about you?
Well, I'm just getting back into mentoring. I took a little break for a minute, and I actually have a mentoring session on Saturday. Hopefully, my voice is better.
Okay.
So I'm doing
Fantastic.
that. Yep.
All right. And if people want to be mentored by you, how do they go about that happening?
And they can go to my website, rubyburke.com. Just
All
send me a
right.
message.
Fantastic. All right. And for all things Dr. Walls, you can go to askdrwalls.com, AskDrWalls, askdrwalls.com. On there, you will see information about Sisters for Harmony. You will see a tab about the adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, a hip hop tale. You will see Planner's Knowledge, my other books as well. Sisters for Harmony has some events coming up virtually, and eventually there'll be some more in person. And so we look forward to seeing y'all there. All right. So until next month, it will be July 3rd. So we'll be able to kick off right before right before the 4th of July holiday and set that in motion. So as always, until we meet again, continue to live your greatest life, everyone, and God bless. See you soon.
Bless
Bye.
you.